So Scott, you're recognized. Please let us hear from what you have to
Chairman.
say.
And thank you, ladies and gentlemen, for hearing my heart. At this very moment, in a cemetery in southern Denver, Chapel Hill Cemetery, they're erecting the 13 crosses that I think are well known across the country as a permanent memorial at the head of my daughter's grave. And my heart really longs to be there with my children, Bethany and her husband Don, Dana, Craig, and Mike. But it's with their blessing that I'm here today, and I appreciate that. I realize that I'm a mere pawn in today's hearings, but I'm a willing pawn because I dare to believe that I can make a difference. Every once in a while, a pawn has been used to checkmate a king, and I have no hidden agenda, and of course I have no political aspirations. I simply speak to you as a broken-hearted father, and I only ask that you allow your heart to hear me for the next few minutes. Since the dawn of creation, there's been both good and evil in the heart of men and women, and we all contain those seeds. We contain the seeds of kindness and the seeds of violence. And the death of my wonderful daughter, Rachel Joy Scott, and the deaths of that heroic teacher and the other 11 children who died must not be in vain. Their blood cries out for answers. The first recorded act of violence was when Cain slew his brother Abel out in the field. The villain was not the club he used. Neither was it the NCA, the National Club Association. The true killer was Cain, and the reason for the murder could only be found in his heart. In the days that followed the Columbine tragedy, I was amazed at how quickly fingers began to be pointed at groups such as the NRA. I am not a member of the NRA. I am not a hunter. I do not even own a gun. I'm not here to represent or to defend the NRA because I don't believe they're responsible for my daughter's death. Therefore, I don't believe they need to be defended by me. If I believed they had anything to do with Rachel's murder, I would be their strongest opponent. I am here today to declare that Columbine was not just a tragedy. It was a spiritual event that should be forcing us to look at where the real blame lies. Much of that blame lies here in this room. Much of that blame lies behind the pointing fingers of the accusers themselves. I wrote a poem just 4 nights ago that expressed my feelings best, and it was written before I knew that I would be speaking here today, and I'd like to read that. Your laws ignore our deepest needs. Your words are empty air. You've stripped away our heritage. You've outlawed simple prayer. Now gunshots fill our classrooms, and precious children die. You seek for answers everywhere and ask the question, why? You regulate restrictive laws through legislative creed, and yet you fail to understand that God is what we need. Men and women are 3-part beings. We have a body, and we have a soul, and we have a spirit. And I believe we fail to recognize that third element that really does need to be recognized by the legislative bodies of this country that's been ignored for so long. Spiritual influences were present within our educational systems for most of our nation's history. Many of our major colleges began as theological seminaries, and we know this is a historic fact. What has happened to us as a nation? We've refused to honor God, and in doing so, we open the doors to hatred and violence. And when something as terrible as Columbine's tragedy occurs, politicians immediately look for a scapegoat, such as the NRA. They immediately seek to pass more restrictive laws that continue to erode away our personal and private liberties. We don't need more restrictive laws. Eric and Dylan would not have been stopped by more gun laws or metal detectors. No amount of laws can stop someone who spends months of planning this type of massacre. The real villain lies within our own hearts. Political posturing and restrictive legislation are not the answers. The young people of our nation hold the key, and there is a spiritual awakening that's taking place that will not be squelched. We don't need more religion. We don't need more gaudy television evangelists spewing out verbal religious garbage. We do not need more million-dollar church buildings built while their basic needs are being ignored. We do need a change of heart and an humble acknowledgement that this nation was founded on the principle of simple trust in God. When my son Craig lay under that table in the school library and saw his 2 friends murdered before his very eyes, he didn't hesitate to pray in school. And I defy any law or politician to deny him that right. I challenge every young person in America and around the world to realize that on April 20th, 1999, at Columbine High School, prayer was brought back to our schools. Don't let the many prayers offered by those students be in vain. Dare to move into the new millennium with a sacred disregard for legislation that violates your conscience and denies your God-given right to communicate with Him. And to those of you who would point your finger at the NRA, I give to you a sincere challenge. Dare to examine your own heart before you cast the first stone. My daughter's death will not be in vain. The young people of this country will not allow that to happen. And remember that even a pawn in a master's hand can accomplish much.